Caleb is a modern-day cowboy. He meets May, a beautiful and mysterious young woman who turns out to be a vampire. When they kiss, she bites him, but then flees, leaving him to stagger home, wondering why the encroaching dawn is suddenly making his skin begin to smoke. He's picked up, literally, by a camper van, May's surrogate family, a squalid band of nomadic vampires. Caleb too has now become a vampire, and they decide to give him a chance to join them. Caleb is, however, unable or unwilling to bring himself to kill, and brings the police down upon them by allowing a victim to flee, though he earns himself a brief stay of execution by risking his own life to save them. They are found by Caleb's father and little sister Sarah, who are threatened by the vampires, but Caleb and his family escape, and Caleb's father performs a blood transfusion on his son, which cures him of his vampirism. The vampires come after them, kidnapping Sarah. There's a showdown where May and Sarah are rescued and the vampires destroyed. May is also given a blood transfusion and wakes to find herself human once more. The story behind this film goes that Kathryn Bigelow wanted to make a western, however, knowing she'd never get financing, decided to blend it with a more commercial genre. The result is, ironically, something fresh and highly original, as doing this allowed her to blend the mythology of both genres and pick and choose those elements from each that most appealed to her. Furthermore, this is an up-to-date revision. When Caleb first begins to crave blood, it's depicted like a junkie going cold turkey, an image that instantly secures both mythologies in a stark and urban modern day.
What are you on? You believe me if I told you.
Given the premise, this film neatly avoids clichés. These aren't your typical vampires. They have more in common with Bonnie and Clyde than Louis and Lestat. No suave frock-coated Eastern European accents. Nowhere is there any mention of crosses, steaks, garlic, holy water, or any of the other standard accoutrements. These vampires even carry guns. In fact, they could just about be any normal crime spree outlaws. The film makes no apologies for its vampires and pulls no punches when it comes to their kills, which are numerous and bloody. They are predators, plain and simple, hunting to feed, and the film makes no attempts to moralise. It just presents them for the viewer to accept as a given. The ballroom sequence, one of the more notable set pieces, is a typical example. Cinematically, it's a wonderful scene, the menace and threat palpable from the start.
Well, I'll be goddamn. Shit, kick your head. Bartender, give me a couple of shots, whatever donkey piss you're shoving down these cocksuckers' throats.
Hey! Hey! You spilled my drink.
Well, why don't you lick it up off the bar, meatball?
Our protagonist here is Caleb, who is one of the bad guys in this scene. Dramatically, it's a question of whether or not he will fully embrace his vampirism, and in so doing be integrated into the group. This lends the scene an uncomfortable degree of ambiguity, which is only heightened by the fact that these are disposable victims and the audience do not particularly relate to them anyway. It gives the viewer a guilty sense of complicity, and the dark humour only serves to add to this tension.
Just the glass.
Just the glass?
The glass. What you people want? Just a couple more minutes of your time, about the same duration as the rest of your life.
From the moment we meet the vampires, they are dangerous and threatening, but they are also the surrogate family that Caleb is drawn into, and much of the early drama is derived from the question of mutual acceptance between them. Caleb needs to prove himself, and wishes to do so because of his love for May. There is a genuine sense of joy and relief when Caleb redeems himself in their eyes by saving them during the police shootout, and there is a feeling that this family may yet be reconciled. But just as Caleb is living under this constant potential threat, so too is he a threat to their family dynamic, disrupting the equilibrium and inciting jealousies within the group by his relationship with May. It almost plays like the story of a girl who falls in love with an outsider and in so doing brings down destruction upon them all. One detail of vampire mythology that is kept is that of daylight, which is a constant threat. Their nomadic existence makes them especially vulnerable, given that they have no safe harbour to haul up at the end of a night's work and put their feet up with a glass of O positive. It's a detail that's played out very well. During a shootout sequence, the bullet holes with the sunlight streaming through are far more dangerous to the vampires than the bullets themselves. Much of the film takes place in the early hours of the morning, with the dawn approaching. Given their fairly major Achilles heel, it's perhaps a foolish time for them to still be up and about, but thematically it's highly significant. It's the limbo state between day and night, between the worlds of humanity and that of the nocturnal predator. The film is, after all, called Near Dark. It's this meeting of worlds that the film concerns itself with. Caleb is caught in the transition, torn between two possible lives, his yearning to return to his own family or to stay with May and join her surrogate family. But he can't stay on the fence forever. Ultimately, he has to commit to or reject vampirism and all that comes with it, namely hunting and killing. It's only when one family is threatened directly by the other, a scene where the two fathers face off against one another, that he is able to choose between them. He returns home and regains his humanity, though this interpretation is somewhat marred by the fact that May, who has lived years as a vampire, is also ultimately redeemed. The idea of family is strong in this film. Jesse and Diamondback have an odd sentimentality to them, their roles in the group clearly parental. Jesse is like an alpha wolf, leading the pack with absolute authority. Severon is the film's least ambiguous character, and it's through him that Bigelow portrays what a pure vampire is, a perfect hunter, utterly without pity or remorse. He plays with his victims like a cat plays with a mouse, relishing the power of it. And Homer, the child vampire, who epitomizes the chief flaw in their lifestyle, though they do not grow old, nor can they evolve. They don't live so much as continually exist, an endless routine of running and hiding, nightly slaughter and feeding, then finding cover again before the dawn. Most ambiguously played is May. At her first appearance she is striking in her ethereal beauty and femininity. It's Caleb, cocksure and full of bad boy charm, who does the pursuing. The irony here that he is in fact the innocent and she the predator, but the whole scene is multi-layered and nuanced. Despite her intention, the seduction itself is sweet and seemingly genuinely felt. She is conflicted between her instincts as a vampire and her human want to fall in love with this boy, just like a normal girl. It's a conflict that gives her genuine pathos. Her naivety and her innocence is reinforced even as her predatory vampire instincts are revealed. It's this ambiguity that ultimately makes her as torn as Caleb and causes her to betray her own family in order to save him and Sarah, and in the end is what makes her just as capable and worthy of redemption. Which brings us to the point which some viewers seem to have a problem with, that of the blood transfusion as a cure for vampirism. This particular detail splits the audience somewhat, with people questioning the precise mechanics of it. In my opinion, it's just a plot device and the logistics are unimportant, and why split hairs over this minor point and yet still happily accept the whole concept of vampires and all that goes with it? What matters is the fact that this is about redemption, and it certainly makes no less sense than the more often used cliché of killing the head vampire to save those caught in limbo. In conclusion, a beautifully shot movie, atmospheric and stylish, enough blood to satisfy the horror fan, and enough depth to maintain interest between kills.
I hate 'em when they ain't been shaved.